Well, it's a very good morning, a good afternoon, and for some of you, a very good evening, wherever you are listening to this coaching cafe, either live or on your favorite streaming service. My name is Natalie Ashdown from Open Door Coaching. I am joined by the wonderful Paula Jones Hunt. Hello, Paula.
Hi, how you going?
I'm going great. Thank you for asking. And I am excited to be back after missing Coaching Cafe for a couple of weeks. So thank you, Paula, for looking after us as we explored mental health and the link to coaching and also psychological safety in the workplace. So if you haven't picked up those cafes, I'm going to be listening to them over the weekend, so you can do the same. Today, we are looking at what is your coaching philosophy and a deeper dive into the ICF core competency, the changes. So before we begin, let us acknowledge the traditional owners and the custodians on the lands on which we all meet today, their continuing connection to the land, the waters, the communities of Australia, and the lands from all around the world from which you're joining us today. We've got Carolina represented down in East Gippsland. We've got KL represented. We have Wellington in New Zealand, over in Western Australia. Big representation from all around the world today, so welcome. We pay our respects to them, to their elders past, present and emerging, and elders from Indigenous communities from all around the world. Well, today we are going to be digging into the updates to the ICF core competencies and in particular exploring the changes that were made. There were a couple of little words, well, not little words, but there was a couple of words introduced into the ICF core competencies, which have created a bit of a buzz around the community. So that's what we'll be looking at today, particularly the idea of coaching philosophy. If you're new to the cafe, we say welcome to you. We are all about creating a community, having shared learning experiences like this one, and having thought-provoking conversations, which I guarantee you this cafe will create thought-provoking conversations. So welcome back to our alumni, everyone that joins us every week. We know that you're here to have these conversations with us. And also, if you're interested, we have free ICF CCEs available to you if you are listening to this live. You'll, as always, stay on the end of the session and pick up your CCEU. Okay, here we go. The ICF core competencies were updated recently, and they were based on the 2025 Global Coaching Job Analysis. It was a 14-month process that the ICF Global went through, and it was collecting data across an enormous range of evidence-based data collection, including 3,000 surveys of coaches. And the objective was to update the 2019 core competencies to create a new set of core competencies and to bring in the evolvement of the coaching industry over that period. So it identified new competencies that are now essential for coaches. It determined what was no longer relevant, and it revised the existing competencies. So that's just to give you a bit of a background about the update to the ICF core competencies. Now, as you know, the ICF core competencies guide everything we do. They're our guiding light. They're our global practice guiding light for how we show up as coaches in our coaching practice. Of course, they're built into Open Door Coaching's qualifications, our Certificate 4 and our diploma, but not only that, they're built into how we all show up as coaches. So there were no main new competencies, but there were 5 new sub-competencies. There was updates to 11 sub-competencies, 1 new definition, and a glossary of terms. So that's just to give you an overview of what happened to the ICF core competencies, why we need to look into what the new competencies are for 2025 and beyond as well. Just a bit of an overview. All right, the big ticket items, for those of you that haven't sat down and in depth read them like I have, and we all have here at Open Door Coaching, the big ticket items were actually the introduction of working with supervisors and mentors, being aware of coaching best practice and the use of technology. You will know if you've followed the Coaching Cafe, we've looked at that already with the use of AI in coaching and the influence of one's thoughts and behaviours on a client, what's emerging for the client and yourself in the moment. There was another big ticket item that talked about sharing observations, knowledge, and feelings without attachment. And at next week's Coaching Cafe, we're going to look at the concept of knowledge. It created a massive furore, buzz, whatever you like, hullabaloo in the coaching community when the word knowledge was put into the core competencies. But we've got a different way of looking at it, so we'll do that next week. Today, we're going to explore coaching philosophy and what does it actually mean? And I've got some really, hopefully, deeper insights to provide to you today that will really get you thinking and reflecting. And that's our job at the Coaching Cafe today. All right, here we go. I am going to go full nerd alert on you, by the way. So just a bit of a just a bit of a warning for you. I see you chuckling there, Paula. So we're going to look at the detail, and I want to go full nerd alert on you because we have very smart people on the line, and it's our job to explore things in detail and to explore things not just on the surface level, but to think about things from a philosophy point of view. Here we go. So the core competency update that we're talking about today came under establishes and maintains agreement. Previously in the core competencies, and this comparison is available from the ICF, and we've stuck it on our blog as well. Establish and maintains agreement previously said explains what coaching is and not, and describes the process to the client and relevant stakeholders. Great, easy. Explain what coaching is and what coaching's not, and make sure you explain that to the client and the stakeholders. Now, everyone that's been through our Certificate 4 program or our diploma in leadership coaching will know that we do that at the beginning of a coaching session. We establish and maintain that agreement, setting it up at the beginning. But hello, what's this? It says now in the new updates, describes one's coaching philosophy and clearly defines what coaching is and not for potential clients and stakeholders. What's this thing about one's coaching philosophy? Well, it looks kind of simple, doesn't it? Oh, just explain our coaching philosophy and then move on. There's much more to it than that. And that's what I'm, as you can tell, getting very excited to share with you and getting very excited to have us think deeply about what this actually means. I actually think between you and me and the global community that we have, that this has not really been very well thought about from a coaching practice point of view. And this is where I'm going to talk to you more about it. Okay, here we go. You ready? What is a coaching philosophy? Well, I'm glad you asked. And I can see you smiling there, Paula. What is a coaching philosophy? Well, I'm glad you asked. We have a massive problem, everyone, because for the research that I did, coaching philosophy is not actually defined on the ICF Global website. I've looked, I've hunted. You can look and hunt more for me and send me the links that you find, but it's not defined. So here we have in the ICF Core Competencies a thing saying, understand your coaching philosophy and communicate that to the client, but they haven't defined what they mean. And it just doesn't mean principles of coaching. What I did find on the website is a research article that goes back to 2009 from Peter Jackson and Elaine Cox. I'm going to put that on our blog for you. And it's the philosophical influences that have shaped coaching. And I love the article. I haven't had a lot of time to dig into all the references that the article is actually referencing, but it is a great article, and I highly recommend this group, our coaching alumni, because we're not just about coaching, we're about thought leadership. I highly recommend you read the article. You will find it on our blog. The article links back coaching philosophy to great philosophers such as Socrates, Plato, Descartes, Locke, Hume, Kant, and Dewey. The article unashamedly says that these are Western philosophers and male philosophers. So they do apologize for that, and they actually encourage looking at other great philosophers, for example, female philosophers, but also philosophers that come from our Eastern philosophy as well. But for now, since we have only half an hour, less than that now, because I've done the warm-up, we're going to stick with this article, and I'm going to help you think about philosophy in a different way using this article. Are you ready? Let's go. What is a coaching philosophy? Well, we first of all have to understand what is meant by philosophy. And the article from Jackson Cox lay it out really easily for us to understand. So philosophy can be described as the investigation of knowledge, or the underlying exploration of principles, underlying knowledge, and the exploration of being in the world. So when we're talking about philosophy, we're not talking about coaching principles, we're talking about the investigation of knowledge. Now, I can guarantee you that most people haven't actually looked into the definition of philosophy, let alone even know the definition of coaching philosophy, which I'm going to share with you. So let's do that together. Philosophy is the business of abstract thought. It's a method of interacting with and responding to questioning the world. Can you hear now where coaching might fit into the concept of coaching and philosophy? The business of abstract thought, a method of interacting and responding to and questioning the world. So the goal of philosophy is knowledge. It's about how we form our reality, not for its own sake, but by considering what and how we know what we know. And of course, we're seeking to be better prepared to act effectively and to live well. So I hope you're still with me, because I know we've got very smart people on the line. And I know we actually have psychologists and philosophers and a great range of academics on the line. So what I'm going to try to do is break this down into practice. And as I said, I am absolutely mad, crazy nerding out on this topic. So I'm going to try to keep it simple, and I'm going to try to show you how we as coaches can form our coaching philosophy. Here we go. So I'm going to use the principles of Jagosh, which is a person who does a lot of research in realist evaluation. It's what my actual doctorate was based on, realist evaluation. And I'm using Jagosh's thoughts here, but most of you will recognize this diagram as the Hertzberg iceberg principle. So if we think about the iceberg principle, and this will be, you can pick this up on our website and you can pick it up on our YouTube when you actually see the video as well, for those of you that are listening on your favorite streaming service. When we think about coaching philosophy, we're thinking about the iceberg. What we know is actually on the top of the iceberg. So it's what we know, it's what we can see, it's what we can hear, etc. That's on the top of the iceberg. It's how we show up and how we show our knowledge. What we're more interested as coaches is what happens below the iceberg. And our job, philosophically, is to surface what is known and what is unknown. Does that make sense? So if we can surface as coaches what's known and unknown, then that then shows up on the actual surface of what's known. So I'm going to suggest to you that it's the interactions that we have as coaches and as coachees. We talk about the partnering and the interactions. We talk about asking our coaching, bringing our coaching principles, our coaching questions, our listening, our exploration, our reflections, and the sum of everything we are as coaches and what we know as coaches, but also it's the sum of everything the coachee knows. And I'm going to suggest to you that that's a generative process. Now, what I mean by that is it's the interaction between ourselves as coaches and as coachees, the questioning, etc., and the coachees' full exploration of what they know that then surfaces stuff that is unknown and known. So let me put this into the practice. You will ask a coachee a really amazing coaching question. and they will find out using their knowledge and some of beliefs, etc., and their exploration, they will come up with something that they never knew before, or we're going to surface things that they knew before, but now it's coming to the surface. What do we call that? Aha moments. What's happening is the interaction between the coach and the coachee is enabling what the researchers and the academics call a generative dance. It's like a dance that we have, and we call it partnering in coaching. We call it exploration in coaching. We call it staying out of the space, allowing the coachee to find their answers. So that allowing the coachee to find their answers through our good questions that we ask surfaces new knowledge. It surfaces things that we never knew before, but also, most excitingly, when you're at the PCC level or MCC level, it surfaces new ways of being. It's the who, not just the what and the how. So with that in mind, our coaching philosophy becomes something along the lines of surfacing the who, the what, and the how in a way that is potentially known or unknown, but now, because of our interactions, becomes known. Now, I'm going to pause here because I just think this is the most, I don't know, I just think what an amazing way for me to think about what we do as coaches and for what our philosophy might be. And it goes beyond just thinking about our coaching principles. It goes beyond what we are creating through the interactions with our coach and our coachee. And it does speak to the partnering, but it speaks to it in a much more deeper level. And for some of you, you might be going, oh, so that's just, we know that, don't we? We know that, you know, when we ask good questions, the coachee answers the questions and they reflect and they come up with stuff that they didn't know before. We know that, right? But now we're actually putting it into a theoretical, into a philosophical position. And I think for what it's worth, if we reflect on this, gives us a lot more power in terms of our thinking, our roles, and it answers the question then, what is a coaching philosophy? All right, Paula, you are hearing this for the first time, like many of our alumni and our great coaches on the line. I can see you nodding slowly. Can I ask you, what are your first impressions? What are your first impressions?
It's a lot at 9 a.m. on a Friday morning.
Yes.
It's my first impression. And I'm coming with you, and yeah, I haven't seen this presentation, everybody. So I am I'm observing it and digesting it and thinking it through as we're talking. I'm wondering what was the reason that the ICF decided to add the coaching philosophy. Was there something behind it that really was driving it? Do we know?
It's a good question, Paula, and I am trying to find out what made the ICF put this into the core competencies. And I'm also extensively trying to find, well, how do you define it? And that's actually the problem we have at the moment, I think, is I don't know the answers to those questions. So that's what I'm going to be researching over the next couple of weeks so that we can bring that knowledge to the Coaching Cafe. But very good question. And I haven't been able to find out the answers yet.
So my initial thoughts are really around, to me, this is, I mean, I'm a bit of we talked about being nerds last week as well, is that I do love digging into something, is that, I like this idea, and I think about the Cartesian coordinates and how that really asks you to dig in. And I was recently doing some coaching, and the thought that came to me when I was doing the coaching was, it's amazing how one question can change a coaching conversation and have such a big impact on something that someone hadn't been thinking about. And it's this surface and it's the knowing, the what do I know, what do I not know, and even if I know it, what am I doing with it? And it's that one question that really changes what someone's way of thinking and helps them to move forward, which I think is what I'm taking from what we're talking about, is that's linked into that coaching philosophy.
Absolutely, you're on the right path there. And what I'm loving, Paula, is, you know, your reflections, having heard this for the first time. And we're going to offer this to everyone on our line, on our as part of our alumni, to reflect deeply and more deeply on what this means. And as Brett's jumped in here, says it's important to understand what the ICF team intended when they included coaching philosophy. And it may or may not be as deep as what you think. Yes, so you're right, Brett. I agree with you. And it might be just, you know, talk about your coaching philosophy, as in, I believe in creating people, you know, unleashing people's potential. I believe in asking great questions, and I believe that the answers come from you. So that's a beliefs and a value structure based on the core competencies and based on the core coaching principles. But if you're talking about coaching philosophy, and I agree with you, it might not have been something as deep as what we are now trying to investigate. It might be it might be something as simple as that. Well, it's not really simple, but it might be something like that. What I think our challenge is actually to go a bit deeper. And if you're going to use the word coaching philosophy or philosophy, let's challenge that and let's challenge our thinking around that. So as you rightly pointed out here, let's now look at what we're talking about in terms of the actual core competencies. So let's go back to what they said it was. So they're saying under establish and maintains agreements, we're describing one's coaching philosophy and clearly defining what coaching is and what it's not for potential clients and stakeholders. So thinking about our surfacing what is known and unknown, thinking about our generative dance, our partnering with clients, if that's our coaching philosophy, that it's our job to ask great questions, be in reflection, explore, be curious, etc., and that creates a powerful interaction between us and the coachee, what they know, who they are, etc. It's that interaction. If that is guiding us as coaches, then that actually allows us to define what coaching is and what it's not. So what coaching is that powerful interaction which surfaces new ideas, beliefs, thinkings, values, etc., a new way of being. If you're at the PCC and MCC level, that's what coaching is. What it's not is directing and telling, counseling, psychology, telling you what you need to think, me being the subject matter expert, giving you ideas, etc. So all of a sudden, hopefully you can see how, as if we have a coaching philosophy, which is that exploration together, the partnering, then we can surface our beliefs as well. We believe that the client has the answers. We believe that the client, through our questioning, can surface things that they hadn't surfaced before. We believe in the potential of our clients. We build a trusting relationship based on confidentiality, rapport, these kind of things. We believe in curiosity. We believe in exploration. We believe in reflection. And as coaches, that's how we show up. That's actually our coaching principles and our core competencies. They're our beliefs and our values which we bring, and that shows what coaching is and also what it's not. So if we had a different belief system that we are actually the experts and it's our job to tell you as the coachee what we think, then we would not be coaches, would we? So what I'm offering you here is a deeper dive into what is meant by coaching philosophy. And if we were to think about coaching philosophy then with those kind of ideas, then we would actually be more clearer about what coaching is and what it's not. Now, I agree with you, Brett. I think it was if you like, as simple as that. Understand what your coaching philosophy is. I think what they meant is understand what you believe and what your principles are. And based on that, and understand the ICF core competencies, and based on that, make sure when you are interacting with your clients, particularly up front, that you define what coaching is and what it's not. Simple, right? What I'm offering you, and hopefully it's given you all a few aha moments, is a deeper way to actually explore what is meant by coaching philosophy. And with that, when we come back next week, we're going to think about, well, how does that concept of knowledge, because the knowledge, when the ICF put the word knowledge into the ICF core competencies, it created a massive blow up in the community. A lot of people are unhappy when the ICF put the word knowledge and shares knowledge into the ICF core competencies. But if we can think about it a bit differently now, based on coaching philosophy and what that word philosophy means, we can think about things completely differently. And that's our purpose of the Coaching Cafe. That's the purpose of why we come together to have shared, when we talk about shared experiences, shared knowledge, thought-provoking experiences, that's what we're all here to do. Paula, final thoughts and comments based on that?
My final thought, well, look, I love to be challenged, and I love to have my brain scrambled a little bit and to really think differently about it. And I was thinking about that iceberg, and I mean, I've seen that iceberg used for lots of different things, but in the thinking about it from that philosophical perspective, I'm just formulating new thoughts about even talking about your coaching philosophy from that perspective of the unknown, and how you would describe that part of that coaching process is that what you don't know that you don't know yet, and really trying to discover these new paths, and that how do I want to be with that as well. So I love a good scramble, and you've done that this morning.
That is great. Thank you. Thank you. And I hope everyone has had their thoughts scrambled, because isn't that actually what we're talking about? That's right. Through the interactions that we are having as a community in our thought-provoking conversations, we are actually surfacing and formulating new knowledge that we never had before. And that's the really cool thing that we can do about coaching and through our conversations. We can surface new knowledge that we never had before, and we can create new knowledge. And that's the fundamentals of philosophy. All right, off you go, all of you people. It's over to you now. I can't wait to hear what your thoughts are as we go along with this. We include all of the coaching principles and the ICF core competencies in our Cert 4 and diploma, so you can explore that even deeper. And this month, as we've been pointing out, is World Mental Health Month. So we have one small request for you. If you love our coaching cafes, could you consider a donation to the Black Dog Institute for World Mental Health? The QR code is available there on the screen and on our website. I am walking 250 kilometres in October to raise awareness for World Mental Health. I am way under my target, so I will need some extensive coaching around this to up my targets. So and to up my performance. I am underperforming. Anyway, if you're loving our coaching cafes, we never ask for anything, but perhaps this month you might consider making a donation to the Black Dog Institute here in Australia that support mental health research, and they're a wonderful organisation. And you can do that by just simply clicking on the link there. Alrighty, so there you are, everybody. I hope you have really enjoyed our coaching cafe today. I can't wait actually to share and dig deeper into these core competencies again with you next week when we explore this concept of knowledge. So there you are. Hope you all enjoyed the coaching cafe. As always, we say enjoy your coaching, and we look forward to catching up with you next week. It's great to be back with you.